Hi everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. This video will discuss how to create synthetic bathymetry and environment files to use in the neural network. So as we can see here, it's just two simple Java files that you run that will create bathymetry and environmental files for you. So I'm just going to walk you through these two files. Here we have just the class. Typically, if, for example, you aren't a computer scientist, you won't need to make that many changes. However, if you want to customize your environmental and bathymetry files, then I'm going to walk you through how you want to do that. So right here, just say I'm Maddie Nelson, and when running this file, these are some variables that you need to change. So for example, the file path, which is right here on this line, right now it's set up to me, users, Maddie Nelson, documents, bathymetry. That's the folder that when I run this program, I want the documents, the new files to be placed in. So you can do that. You change the file name, whatever you want it to be. You can change the number of test files you want to output. So right now I just have 10 as a generic number right there, and then the file name, I'll get into naming them in a little bit. The number of rows and the number of columns that you're going to want in the bathymetry file. You're going to want to change those here if you want them different than 8 and 20, and then the max depth and the min depth. So here are just some extra variables. .bty is the end of a bathymetry file. The grid is just for generating some stuff below, which I'll show. This is the list of file names that I've written in. Right now it's just some president's names, but you can change that to be anything you want, but I'll bring it up in a little bit. When generating bathymetry and environment files, you need to make sure that the corresponding files have the same name. So for example, washington.bty and washington.env is what you want to do. And this variable file names will come up right down here. So in the main, you're going to run through this for loop of creating these files, and then this is the init make files, and it creates the string for the file name, and this can be changed. If, for example, you were making one file, you could use this file name variable that I have here, and you could go and fill that in right there. Not much else you'd need to change there. And then this function here checks that the class will not overwrite any pre-existing files. So for example, if you run this generate bathymetry, it'll run, but it will first check if you have files in that folder that already have that name. If you do, it will not regenerate those files. It doesn't want to overwrite your existing files. So be sure to keep that in mind when running this, that it will not overwrite your files. And then here you just have some functions to create your bathymetry file, and here is where you really potentially could customize it, and this is in the make slope quad, and in this function I'm generating the different values of this grid that I have and putting them in the respective locations. If you want to customize that, go for it. You can make the floor, the ocean floor, look however you'd like it to, and you can just customize it by changing around some of the numbers here. If you wanted to add a slope or a valley, you can do that in this make slope quad. Then it generates the label, and then this get max label is checking the min and the max depth, which you've set before. So now I'm going to go up here and I'm going to run generate bathymetry, and I want to proceed, and the console will tell me, okay, my files have been created. Now if I look down here in my, where I had it, I can see in this bathymetry folder that my BTY files have been created. So let's look, for example, at Atoms BTY, and we can see these are the values that were calculated for my file. Additionally, right now, all the files will be calculated the same, but if in the generate bathymetry where you're generating the slope, you somehow implement, somehow incorporate the file number that is being during the make slope quad function, you can generate different files each time. So that's generating the bathymetry files. For generating the environment files, there are more variables that you're going to want to change. Again, you need to change the file path, and then you could change the number of test files if you want, but because I just generated 10 bathymetry test files, I'm also going to generate 10 environmental test files to couple with those. I used the same names here because you need to do that. And then here are the variables that go into the environmental file. So the frequency in hertz, which you can set, and then the number of end media, and you can set that there. And then you have the SSPOPT, analytic or C-linear interpolation. You can designate that. And then you have your depth 1, depth 2, depth 3 of the bottom, which is in meters, and your other depth values here, and number of source coordinates in X, the coordinates of those sources, then the number of source coordinates in Y, which is in kilometers here, and then the number of source depths, the source depth, number of receiver depths, and so on, number of receiver bearings, bearing angles in degrees, number of beams in elevation, beam azimuth angles, the step size used for tracing the rays, all those variables you can change. Additionally, more information for these variables and what they mean can be found in the bathymetry GitHub, which I will link in the comments in the description of this video. And then what's happening here is you're making the files. Again, this will not overwrite existing files, and you go through and you append all of these different variables and strings, and then you make the file, then you write to files. So I'm going to run this generate environment file here. I'm going to proceed, and it tells me that they've been created, and we'll just take a peek right there. So now you can see we have the atoms BTY and the atoms environment file and so on, and if we is what it'll end up looking like. It's going to open up something like this. With all the variables and everything set that we need for the environmental file. So thanks again for watching. These are the two files for creating synthetic environmental and bathymetry files to help train the neural network, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks.